Hello again, Stuart Smith from Berkshire Guitar Amplifier Repairs, as always with you, and we have on the bench today a Line 6 DT25, not an amplifier I'm familiar with. The problem on this amp is that the sound fluctuates. He'll be playing and suddenly he'll get a drop in power, then he'll come back again, just kind of dropping out sounds. So let's have a look at it. As you probably know by now, the very first thing I'm going to be looking at is the effects send and return jacks, because they can get dirty and cause the sound to drop out. So we'll eliminate that first of all and then see what else might be wrong with this. So let's get straight into it. A quick look along the top of this one. Quite a nice looking amp, isn't it? A bit overly complicated for my taste. I don't like overly complicated amps. I like a simple amp and a pedal board if you want effects, because it just makes the amp just complicated and lots to go wrong. So you have two complete channels here which you can set up everything on, but then you've got all these other switches. You know, you've got class A, B and class A, and then you've got four voices here. I'm not quite sure how this works. Oh, I think these are very dimly illuminated. You can just about see the one is lit there. See that? Can't see it under normal lighting. And then what's happening there? Is 2 lit? No. No, 2. 2 is lit now. Now 3. And now 4. I don't know what those are, just different voicings, but you can't see those lights under normal conditions, so that's not very good. Neither can you see the pentode, triode. I can just about see that that one's lit. You may be able to see it better than me on the camera. Okay, so let's get a guitar in. In fact, I think I'll put a signal generator in, and then we can have a tap around and see if the sound comes and goes. So there's a 250 Hz tone going through. Don't need a lot of volume. We're just really checking to see if the sound is dropping out. I think I'm just going to give it a thump. Didn't like that, did it? Ooh. It takes years to learn how to thump an amplifier like this, by the way. Not just anyone can do it. You have to go to amplifier thumping school. There's definitely something there I don't like when you give it a knock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to... Oh, even moving that around made a horrible racket. It's got an effects here. It's got an effects return send here. I'm just going to put a jack to jack across there, and that will eliminate any problems with these contacts. If ever you get a dropout problem with an amp, the very first thing you should do is check the effects send and return, because look, jacking into the effects send, I'll do it very slowly. See how it completely cuts the signal? Because basically the signal's now coming out on the end of here, ready to go back into there. But all you're doing is opening a couple of contacts on the jack socket there, and if those contacts are dirty, when you take the jack plug out, the contacts go together, but they don't make properly, and so effectively you get the situation here where you can't hear anything, and a couple of bangs on top and it comes good. So that's the very first thing to check. Now let's eliminate that just by jacking those together. Now if it still makes that noise when I bang it, it's not the effects jack. There you go, I heard it then. No, it's still doing it. You might not have heard that, but I can hear a little crackle when I do that. Right, so I think the thing to do is to pull the chassis, and then we can have a proper tap around and see if we can get lucky and find out what's causing this this intermittency. Oh dear, we got one of these U-shaped chassis again, like on the Fender bass breaker. Virtually impossible to work on. This panel, I think, does come off, but of course it's got boards attached to it, so another really poor piece of design here. Oh dear. Oh well. I'll take off the screws on the front here and see if we can get this apart. So frustrating, this sort of thing. Actually, I'm not quite sure how this would come apart. Oh yes, okay. Yes, that is returned in there, so that might just come off this front panel. I think before that I might just you know, get a chopstick down in there and see if waggling any of these connectors or anything causes the sound to come and go. No harm in doing that. Right, I can hear it grumbling away, funnily enough, popping and banging in the background. There's a limit to what I can do. Do you hear that? Oh, that came... listen to that intermittency there. Sound literally came and went then. There's a limit to what I can do holding the camera like this and with a chopstick. But I just want to show you the principle. I'm going to start just waggling carefully these leads, particularly on these multi-connectors. They're very susceptible to problems. It's popping and banging away in the background. It's very easy to fool yourself into thinking that you've just done that by moving something. Tiny movements. You don't want to cure the problem if you can avoid it. You want to find the problem. There are so many interboard connectors on here. This is what makes amps unreliable. By the way, I want to let you know that we're on a hiding to nothing here if we have a serious fault with this amp, because you can see we've got surface mount stuff all over the place here, boards almost impossible to get out. I think, you know, the first thing I'm going to do is to change these 3 valves. That popping and banging there, it sounds a bit like a valve to me, and we really... oh, did you hear that? We really just have to eliminate these valves. Let's just give them a little tap as well. Ooh, ooh. Ooh. Hear that? That's gone completely. Whoa! I think we found it. That's okay. This valve's faulty, all the seating. Great. Right, we'll change those 2 valves. See how we get on. Okay, I've got a brand new pair of JJs here, and just to show you what I typically do, I've marked the faulty valve with a little red dot. I just get into the habit of doing that because then you know which valve was faulty and or which position was faulty. So you put the new valves in, you haven't got that red dot, and you start thinking, hang on, was it that valve or was it this one? I can't remember which one was faulty. So I always mark the faulty component with a little red dot. You can obviously buy these red dots just at any stationer's store. So I'm going to let these valves cool down, and then I'm going to pop in these new JJs. I'm 100% sure that will cure that problem, and with a bit of luck we'll get out of trouble quickly and easily on this, because this sort of thing, like on the Fender Bass Breaker 15, see my video on that, it's very difficult to work on this sort of thing. Not at all fun. Anyway, there we go. We've got the 2 new JJs in, and give them a bit of tap. Perfectly solid. So I think we have solved that with a valve change. Another thing to notice is look at that board at the back there with the white connector on top. I don't know if you can see it, completely rammed with surface mount stuff. 40 pin chips, there's a 100 pin chip down there at the bottom, I can see. is all digital processing, signal processing, and that's what these voices here will be, just changing signal processing. But if this amp ever goes wrong, like the Bass Breaker 15, you can pretty much forget it. I wouldn't take this amp on in terms of a serious repair. I just wouldn't want to do it. You have all these interboard connectors which cause problems, and when I turn it on, after about 4 seconds, maybe a couple of seconds, you can hear all these relays going click, 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 click. So there's several relays in there doing all kinds of stuff. In fact, I can see that. I can see 3 relays down there. See those orange blocks down behind that capacitor? There are 3 relays there at least. I think this might be a little relay here, this little thing here, another one. So it's crawling with relays, crawling the surface mount, completely unrepairable, by me anyway. And if it ever went seriously wrong, this is like the Bass Breaker 15, another bit of landfill. Well, we may have fixed this amp actually. I played it for about half an hour after I put it all back together and it sounded fine. The customer said that those 4 voices he thinks may be programmable or something, so that was why we weren't getting much sound through those. And the A and B channels seemed to work okay when I put it back together, so I'm sort of quietly hopeful. That valve was 100% faulty. I mean, the slightest tap and it just killed the sound. So anyway, I've come to a deal with the customer whereby he'll pay me for the valves and take it away, and if it's fixed, great. If not, we're going to have to think again and maybe send it back to line 6 or something. But I'm quietly confident that this actually is now going to work. Anyway, a bit of a weird video. I hope you enjoyed it anyway, and I'll catch you on the next one.